Hey, what's up, universe? It's 12:58. Sorry, 12:58 p.m. on Wednesday. Yes, July 26th, 2023. So some interesting things have occurred. So I spoke with the woman that reached out to me yesterday that I had the consult with. The one with the key on the website that I mentioned in my previous video. And that was a short conversation, about 10 minutes. She offers a service for aligning people with roles that are aligned with them. And everything that she had to say sounded good. I did let her know, about 8 to 9 minutes into the conversation, because I could feel where this conversation was going. She has a package and, tiers and things like this. And I just felt compelled to let her know that before she went further, because it was a scheduled 30 minutes, that I'm penniless right now. And so I didn't want her to waste any more of her time. And I let her know why I even scheduled the call. I was like, well, you came to me and I allow myself to explore and kind of take a look at the things that arrive, to me. And she gave me some numbers about the pricing and everything. And I looked up the angel number meanings to these numbers, and that was a very curious thing as well. There was I believe 4 different numbers. And I won't read them right now. I'll include those probably as comments to this video, just to share that. And then I sat down on LinkedIn and I was looking at jobs. And the other day, my last video on LinkedIn, where I was really vulnerable, I allowed myself to share an angel number meaning of the duration of that video, just further kind of exposing myself, further making myself vulnerable. I feel sharing that spiritual side of myself on LinkedIn, that's uncomfortable for me. Exposing kind of what I did with the fire ceremony with you guys or anybody that's been following me, allowing myself to be seen, allowing that part of myself to be witnessed, is uncomfortable for me. That is an energetic stretch. So to do that on LinkedIn was also very uncomfortable. And after I did that, I sat with that because I had to allow myself to sit with it, because I could feel inside of myself the fear, and along with that fear could be judgment of myself and criticism of myself. And I'm grateful that part wasn't the biggest part of myself, but it was something that was coming up a little bit. And really feeling into being okay with that, being okay that I had done that, being okay with me being seen that way, to have my peers and my professional colleagues witness and see that part of me within that context, or even at all. It's not really, my spiritual side isn't something that I typically share. And so just really feeling into my body and allowing that to be okay. Because that's part of, to kind of go back to the creation triangle and me being off base with one thing or another, how am I relating to the data? How am I relating to people seeing my spirituality or my spiritual practice or my beliefs? My spiritual beliefs, and allowing that to just to baseline that, instead of being off center, by being witnessed. And that took some time, and I sat with that, and because I practiced that, and because I felt the more that I was okay internally with being witnessed like that, the more in alignment I would be, just in general and with my life, the more in integrity I would be with myself. And as I thought through this and I felt through this, I was I'm glad I'm doing this, because if I don't, then what will happen is I will seek employment with an employer or an organization, an entity, where I can be hired, yet will be energetically and just out of alignment with my values. And that's what I've been doing the first part of my life, the first 44 years of my life, anyway, is just being a certain way to mold and appease others, and definitely within a professional context. And as I continue along my life journey, learning to be more and more okay with who I am and what my values are, and to not feel like I need to defend myself, because that's another energy that had come up before in a lot of different areas of my life, feeling very feral and just kind of edgy about defending myself, about who I am, and just relaxing around all of that and just being okay and neutralizing that energy and just being calm with accepting who I am. Is a big practice. So to go along with that, I sat down on LinkedIn today, is what I was getting at, and I was looking at jobs. And on page 6, I was just looking. I didn't search for anything specific. I was just like, remote work, right? And on page 6 of the job listings, I found a senior director of technology for an organization called Compassion International. And I read this job description, and it's a religious organization. It's a Christian organization. And there wasn't any like real specific like details. Like they didn't list their technology stack. They weren't like, we need like 10 years experience with this and like whatever experience with that. Like there wasn't like, no platforms were specified, no pieces of technology, nothing like it was interesting. And I was reading it, and I looked at the people that worked there to see who I was connected with, first or second, degree type of thing. And I just felt really compelled to apply for this job, this role, which was really interesting to me because, again, I've mentioned that while I grew up in a Lutheran church, I don't identify as Christian, even though like the show Lost is absolutely Christian, like the symbolism of Christianity, like religious symbolism across the spectrum are things that interest me and that I can resonate with. So I just I'm a spiritual person. I just don't necessarily identify with any one dogma or particular view on the source or God or the universe, like that kind of a thing. Yet I still felt compelled because the values and the role and what they were talking about the role needed to do, both like impacting, it just felt like I could use my technical skills and my soft skills internally and externally. And there was just a lot of things that felt like it was in alignment. So I was like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to apply for this. And then I reached out to the job poster directly and messaged them, and I provided the link to my video on my LinkedIn post on the last one where I was vulnerable. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna invite you to watch this, just so you can put a face with the name and also see my vulnerability. And what's interesting, right, on that same post, like I just mentioned, I put the angel numbers there. So there was definitely a lot of my spiritual just self on that LinkedIn post. The person responded back and said, thanks, I'll take a look at your application and I'll be in touch if I see a fit. And I thanked him for that. And so I'm letting that unfold. And then just to kind of go along with this, like I've been thinking about what Jason sent me and like the time frame of things, like tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the 27th, and like tomorrow's the day, and I still have $0. And as I feel into it, I'm like, I don't feel like I am meant to leave here, I don't know how I would leave here. Well, one, I don't know where I would go. Not that that's necessarily a problem. I can figure that out. But energetically, like inside of me, like I always make decisions and follow like what feels right. And so when I receive information, that can inspire that type of thing about like, oh, okay, so that means that this is going to unfold, or this is kind of the direction that I need to go. I don't feel that, even though I received that information from Jason, I don't feel it in my body that I'm meant to go anywhere. And then even if I'm wrong on that, I don't know how I'm going to get half of my stuff out of this house. I can't afford a moving truck, this kind of a thing. And so while I can leave, a lot of my stuff's going to have to stay. So there's just a lot of this that doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just capturing that. And then, let's see, just another just kind of random thing. The thing about the name of the entity, Compassion International, I used the word compassion like explicitly in that video on my LinkedIn post. Like it was the only adjective that I used to describe like how I relate to myself in the middle of this uncertainty, is giving myself compassion. And there's just language, like the language that comes up is interesting to me. And so this plays into some other things. Like today I just got done, so that astrologer woman that I mentioned, I've started to listen to her again. Her name is Molly McCord, if you're interested. And she just today released another podcast. And she's always struck me with the language that she uses, because it always resonates for what's going on in my life. And she does intuitive astrology, which, aligns with me, because like intuition and just feeling things. And so she doesn't just do it from a mechanical, practical perspective of like, here's the mechanics of astrology. She receives things while she's doing interpretations and just speaks them. And to me, it's a very like inspired like presentation, and it just always resonates. She always resonates with me. And so the things that I was hearing in her podcast today, I was like, it's very curious. So there's that. And another thing that I found interesting is that my oldest sister, after I got done listening to the podcast, I checked my LinkedIn. And my oldest sister had looked at my profile like 5 minutes before. It was like 4 minutes. And I found that interesting, because I don't think my oldest sister is on LinkedIn very often, because like she has had a couple of roles beyond where she has like listed on her LinkedIn profile. So it's not like she's actively on there updating it. I really don't think that she logs in to that app or that site very often. And so I found it curious that she viewed my profile. I view it as a positive thing, and I'm grateful for it. So within the last 3 or 4 days, my middle sister and my oldest sister have viewed my LinkedIn profile. And to me, that's a positive sign, because that means that they're actively curious. And indifference is the opposite of love, right? So they're showing some kind of interest. And so I feel connected and grateful for that. So thank you for that. And then the last thing that is random, I'm just going to put in here, is I had a dream last night. I had a difficult time sleeping. I went to bed at like 2:30 in the morning, which is, it's pretty early compared to when I've been going to bed. I could not fall asleep. Like I was still awake at like 5:30, you know? I think I finally fell asleep between 5:30 and 6. And I set my alarm for 8 a.m. because I had this call, right, with this woman. So I woke up at 8, but then I was like, you know what? It's a phone call. I don't need to be up and like showered yet. So I set my alarm for 8:46. I don't like to set for my alarms. I don't like to do like 8:15 or 8 o'clock or 8:30. I always do like 1 minute after. It's like 8:01, 8:16, 8:31, 8:46. So I set my alarm for 8:46. And so in that time, in between like 8 and 8:46, I fell back asleep and I had this dream, and it was about Reese. And I was really frustrated with her in this dream. And it was strange because like visually, when I'm thinking back, like I don't think the individual in my dream really looked like Reese, but the energy and like how I was like responding to this person, or like the relationship that we had, it was definitely Reese. And it was interesting in the sense of like, there was something that I was looking for from her, and she wasn't communicating it. And I was really frustrated by that. And I find that curious. I really don't know what it means. I mean, I have definitely kind of processed some things around like the last text that I sent her, and like that went unacknowledged, which is fine. So I don't know if that is playing a role in the dream. Anyway, I'm just noting it because it was an interesting thing. Like I was frustrated about like, what are you doing here? You know, like, why are you here? And there was like hardly any communication from her. She was doing stuff around me. Like we were at like my place, not necessarily here at this house, but like she had come into my space and was like doing stuff in my space, yet not communicating with me. And I was like, what is this? And it was just a really curious experience. So I don't know what that's about. So, lastly, I will say, on a technical side, I know I've been talking for a little bit, I have got the code to automatically transcribe these videos and generate the YouTube descriptions and Instagram descriptions. So that's really cool to see. It takes about a minute per description to generate, so that's pretty cool. So I could just set like here, I could set a folder up and be like, here's a folder full of transcriptions of my videos, and I can just run the script and it will take it, and then it will generate a YouTube and Instagram post for both. And it'll create a YouTube and Instagram post for each transcription, and I just have to sit back and wait for it to be done. Now, it's not perfect by any stretch, yet it is a great starting point. And I'm super excited about that. So now I'm thinking about how to take my audio journals and work using this system of automation that way, and thinking of different prompts to create whatever it is that those prompts are looking to generate. So there's that. I think that's really about it. That's what I got. So thank you. I know I've been talking for almost 20 minutes now. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your space. Thanks for journeying with me. All right. I love you guys. Thanks for being with me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.